Welcome to Personalizing Your Virtual Lessons with Bitmojis, presented by the Technology Training Team.
Today, we're going to discuss what is a Bitmoji and how can I use it in education. So you'll get a chance to explore some different ways that it's being used in education, and you'll have an opportunity to learn some skills that hopefully will help you to use it in different ways. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So before we fully jump into Bitmojis, let's do a quick Bitmoji check-in. So I'm going to send out a poll through WebEx that'll allow you to tell us where are you on your Bitmoji journey. You may see a pop-up that's saying that a poll has been pushed out, and you may click open or OK, and then you can begin answering that question. So again, where are you on your Bitmoji journey? Is it completely new to you? Have you seen Bitmojis but not created one? Are you using them personally? Or have you explored with already using them in the classroom? Okay, I'll give us a few more minutes to get in. I can see several of us are responding. Okay, and I'm going to get ready to close the poll. And I see some of us are putting our answers in chat, and that's perfectly fine as well. And based on the responses that I'm seeing, we're kind of split amongst the four. So I'm going to share those results with you as well. So I'm going to close the poll in the next few seconds so that you can see those responses as well. Okay. So the poll is closing. But based on the results, I can see that about 28% of us, this is completely new. And then 29% of us have a Bitmoji and been using it personally. So hopefully you're seeing those results as well. Thank you for participating in our poll. All right, so let's learn a little bit more about what is a Bitmoji. Essentially, a Bitmoji is a cartoon character version of yourself. And that Bitmoji can be used to build community, to try and make personal connections with your students through your lessons. So you can include quirky, fun messages, and you'll see some of those examples as we continue on. But you may say, well, Monica, I haven't heard of Bitmoji. I have some people who say it's completely new, that 28% of us. But maybe you've heard of other terms that have that emoji in it. So we wanted to invite you to our emoji museum so that we can learn a little bit about the different types of emojis that are out there. So we talked about Bitmojis already, and that's what we're here to learn today. But you may have also heard about emojis. And so typically those are those smiley faces or angry faces or different images that you may see in text messages or in email that are available to us. And then there's also memojis. Memojis are a 3D avatar version of ourselves that we can create as well. And then lastly, we have animojis. And animojis take it a step further because they allow for you to add project your voice and move your head through various characters that are available. So now that we have a little background knowledge about the different types of emojis, let's focus in on our Bitmoji. So at this point, we want to explore how can Bitmojis be used in education? So a lot of us, 29% of us said we have it personally that we're using Bitmojis, but we haven't really delved into how we could use it with education. So this is our time where we're going to put a link in chat for you. One of my colleagues will add a link in chat. You can use that link to start exploring some of these ideas that are here. How can it be used for banners, lesson presentation, interactive scenes, or charts? If you don't want to leave the WebEx environment, I will also open this presentation up as well and explore a couple of the ideas. But I encourage you to go ahead and explore on your own so you can select the ones that you're most interested in. So when you click on the link, it should open the presentation for you. And then each one of those papers is a link to a slide that provides some examples. So if I go to classroom banners, I can see that there are 3 examples here of how I can use it. And it says for classroom, but it's also for forums as well. So if you are creating quizzes for your students, you could create a banner that goes right into your Google form. So all of these are actually links. And if you click on any one of the images, it will take you to a screen that allows you to make a template. So you'll see in the upper right-hand corner a blue box that says use template. And that allows you to have your own version, your copy of this that is stored in your Google Drive that you can use at a later time. So all of the images within the presentation are set up that way for the most part. All right, so that's banners and forms. We're going to take a look at another example. Maybe we want to go to an interactive scene. So here I have 4 different interactive scenes that we could take a look at. And if I wanted to look at my foreign language class, I could select that. And again, you see that use template little button, but you can explore without saying that you want to use the template. All right, and again, if you hover your mouse over certain pictures, some of them will show that they are a link to another resource. So this is going to take me to a video of the I Have a Dream speech. And don't worry, you're going to learn how to make something a link and all those things in a little while. But this is just a chance to kind of get some inspiration of how we could use it. All right, next is lesson presentation. And so again, we have some different ideas of how it could be used in lesson presentation. And these templates came from a Facebook group that we'll talk to you about later called Bitmoji Craze for Educators. And then we also have stickers and charts. So maybe if you're just getting started with Bitmojis, maybe you just want to use it for feedback or as part of posters or charts that you're making for your students. And here are some samples for you. And then under more ideas are just different ideas that we found, whether it's an escape room, meeting the teacher as you're thinking about next year and how you'll introduce yourself to your teacher. But the one that I love the most is the ideas from our PGCPS teachers. So when we initially announced this class, we put a Padlet for teachers to share with us how they are currently using Bitmojis in education. And so we have lots of ideas here from our PGCPS educators that are sharing how they have been using Bitmojis in their classroom. And even after attending our session, some have come back and added some of the things that they've created here as well. So take a look at this because this will give you some good examples of how teachers across the district are using Bitmojis in their instruction. All right, so hopefully you got an idea of how you could use these Bitmojis in different ways. And now it's time for us to return back to our main presentation. So if you navigated away to look at the different ways of how you can use it, I'm going to encourage you to come back to our WebEx environment, because now we're going to actually create. For those people who said they haven't created one, or they've seen it but they don't have one, this is your time to actually learn how to create a Bitmoji. So I'm going to pass off to my colleague Chris, and he is going to walk us through how to create.
Thanks, Monica. We just want to make sure if you have never created a Bitmoji, you will need a smartphone or tablet to do so. Unfortunately, the only way there is to create a Bitmoji is going to be on a smartphone or tablet. We're going to walk you through the process of creating a Bitmoji. You may want to watch the first time. We're going to give you an opportunity to follow more detailed directions in creating a Bitmoji a little bit later in the session. So you may just want to watch as we're doing so, or you are welcome to click along. Just because we're under time constraints, though, we'll be moving a little quickly. But know that you will have an opportunity later in the session to be able to create your Bitmoji. So I've already downloaded the Bitmoji app to my tablet, which is what you're seeing now. Once I open that app, I'm going to choose the option to sign up with email. Okay. It's going to ask me when my birth date is. The reason it's asking me for that is to make sure that I am over the age of 13. So Bitmoji is intended to be used by people who are over the age of 13. And of course, today we're focusing on using it for instructional purposes. So we know all of our teachers are over 13, but just keep that in mind. All right, I'm going to press continue. It's then going to ask me for an email address. Now you have a choice of what email address you'd like to use. You can use a personal or your PGCPS email address if you'd like to. Just keep in mind that whatever email address you choose is going to be the one that you're going to use to log in when we talk about the extension in a few minutes to be able to interact with the Bitmoji on your work computer or other device. Okay, so I'm going to log in. I'm going to create a password and click sign up. It's then going to take me to the option to choose my gender. Okay, I am male, so I'm going to choose the male gender. I do have the option, as you're seeing on your screen right now, to begin with a selfie. So I could take my device, take a selfie, and that will kind of help shape my Bitmoji if I'd like to. But for today, I'm just going to skip and go from scratch. So you'll notice that my sort of options have popped up here. I chose the male option. Some of the options will be different depending on the gender that you choose. So you may not see exactly what is on my screen. You may see some other options. So you just want to keep that in mind. So the first thing I'm going to do is scroll up. I'm going to choose the option that I like. So it's asking me first about my skin tone. So I'm going to choose skin tone. And then I'm going to slide over to the left, and it's going to continue taking me through options. So I can choose hair color. I'm going to choose that one. Then I'm going to slide again to the left, same way I did before, and it's going to allow me to choose a hairstyle. So now this is an option of where this is one of those options that depending on what you pick, it will modify your later options. So I'm going to choose the hairstyle that's closest to mine. And then I'm going to again slide to the left. Now you'll see it's asking me about hair treatment, but it's telling me that there aren't any hair treatments available for this particular hairstyle. If I had chosen a different hairstyle, excuse me, I would see a different hair treatment, but because of the one I chose, I don't see that. Again, I'm going to keep selecting options. I can choose facial hair for me here. I just want you to keep in mind, all you're going to do is swipe your options to the left once you open for the Bitmoji app. Swipe over, and that is going to let you choose various options. The options may change based on the gender or previous option that you've chosen. So I was saying, for example, facial hair, excuse me, I chose a short option. So or actually, that's not the one I did. The hair treatment. So for example, I chose the short hair instead of another hairstyle. So when I slide over to hair treatment, I don't have any options. It's perfectly normal. It's just about what particular options you're choosing that will determine your later choices. Okay, so nothing out of the ordinary there. If you don't like any choices, for example, if I didn't want any facial hair, I could choose no, but because I do have facial hair, I'm going to choose the option that is appropriate to me. All right, I can slide over with facial hair color, eye shape, right? Eye size. And again, you can play with these options. It does take a large amount of time. So just keep that in mind. Like the first time I created a Bitmoji, it took me 30 to 45 minutes to try to even get it right. I'm just speeding through the select options because of our time constraints. But we're going to keep going here. I can choose my eye color, what my eyebrows look like, eyebrow color. It'll ask me to select a nose similar to mine. I do have the option for glasses. If you're a glasses wearer, you don't have to choose this option. If you're not, and you do have several different styles of glasses, it just depends on what you want your Bitmoji to look like. I'm going to edit my jaw size. Actually, I'm a little more like that. Actually, no, I am more like the first one. There we go. All right. I can edit my face shape. A little rounder there. All right. The mouth. And these options are updated from time to time, so you can feel free to come back to the app and modify them as possible. And again, I just saw a question pop up in the chat. The only way to initially create your Bitmoji is to do it on a smartphone or tablet where you're able to access either the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, one or the other. And we've included a screencast or a video of these directions so that you can walk through them again later. Those will be available in the presentation. It's like ears, but as you're initially creating, you must create on a smartphone or tablet. You don't have any other options, unfortunately. All right, I have some cheek lines, so I'm going to choose my cheek lines there, slide again to the side. I'm going to leave my forehead lines blank. Eye lines, I have, so I'm going to find one that's appropriate to me. Let's go here. All right. I can also choose headwear. I'm going to leave my headwear off. And then it's going to open me up to my body style. All right. So I'm going to choose the body proportions that I feel look closest to mine. Slide again. And then it's going to allow me to dress my Bitmoji. So I'm going to scroll up. Now, since this is my professional Bitmoji account, I tend to choose professional dress, but you have the option to dress however you'd like. Now, notice I've chosen an outfit, an initial outfit. Maybe I like that outfit, but I don't particularly like the colors on it. When I slide to the side, it gives me the option to maybe change the individual pieces like the shirt. So in this case, let's say I think I want to do a red shirt today. I'm going to choose the red option that's up here to the right. All right, maybe I want to choose some khaki pants instead, or a wheat color, so I'll change my pants in that color. I can choose my color. I can go down to my shoes. All right, I think I like those, so I'm going to leave them how they are. And then I can choose whether I want to wear socks or not, depending on just what I want to see. All right, and then if I want any outerwear, I think I'll throw on a blazer here just to kind of bring everything together. And I think I want that to be a little bit of a different color. There we go. All right. So the last option is the closet. It will show up blank. Once you have created an outfit and saved your initial Bitmoji, those outfits will go into the closet. So as you change those clothes, they'll be saved so you don't necessarily have to create those options again. Once I'm happy with my Bitmoji, as I now am, I'm going to click Save up here at the top right. And that's going to save my Bitmoji. Now, you may, depending on what platform you're using, if you're using Android, iPhone, one or the other, I'm using an Android today, you may get an option to install the Bitmoji app to a keyboard or to make a keyboard on your mobile device active. That basically just says that it's going to infuse an option into your keyboard. to allow you to use your Bitmoji for things like text messages, emails from your phone, and so forth. So if you decide to enable that, that's totally up to you. No right or wrong answer there. Okay. So now that my Bitmoji has been saved, I want to be able to get it onto some work products. So I am going to change over here. So now that I've created and saved my Bitmoji, you have to go all the way through the process to create and make sure that you press save. We're going to install the Google Chrome extension. This is what is going to allow you to bring that Bitmoji over to your work device. You want to use Google Chrome, okay, because it is a Chrome extension. So if you're trying to use Safari or Firefox or something else, you're not going to see the same options. So you want to use Google Chrome. You're going to come over here to the top left-hand corner of your Google Chrome browser, and you're going to click Apps. Okay, now I have two options. I have the web store here, which is a large icon. I also have the small one here at the bottom right. Either one will take you to the same place. And then it's going to bring me to my different extension options. An extension is just something that extends the functionality of Google Chrome, right, or adds on a layer. So I'm going to choose Bitmoji here. You should see it on your landing screen if you're logged in with your PGCPS account. If you don't see it for whatever reason, or you're logged in with a different account, you can search the store for the Bitmoji option. I'm going to click on it. Now you'll notice that mine says remove from Chrome. That's because I already have it installed. If you're doing this for the first time, you're going to see an option here that says install. You'll click install. It'll run through a process and tell you when it's ready. Then an icon will appear here somewhere to the top right of your screen. Now mine is showing up here at the end. Yours might appear somewhere along this line, depending on how many other extensions you have. I have several of them. So mine is appearing to the side. In some cases, if you're a heavy extension user, you may need to click the three dots to see the additional options that are here. But mine is appearing here in the green. So I'm going to click that, and then it's going to give me the option to get started. So I'm going to click get started. It will open up a new browser. I do not need to log in with Snapchat because I clicked sign up with email when I started. So Snapchat is not necessary. I'm going to then enter the same email address that I used to create, or that I used when I opened the Bitmoji app on my phone. If I could type. And I'm going to click log in. All right, so then I'm in. I can close this tab. It'll tell me that I'm logged in. So now let's say I want to take this Bitmoji. I want to use it to give a student feedback on their work. So here I've taken a sample student essay from my student here, Johnny D. Matha. I've gone through his essay. I've given him some comments over here about checking for spelling and grammar. But then at the bottom, I want to give him some overall feedback. So I tell him he's done a great job supporting his thesis statement and what he can improve. So to help personalize it, I'm going to add a Bitmoji. I'm going to move my cursor down here to the blank section, come back up and click on my Bitmoji icon. Okay. Now I do have the option here to kind of scroll through what already appears, but I want to go for great work. So I'm going to use the search option up here and type great work because that's what I want the sticker to look like. I'm going to right click on the image I like, which is this one. I'm going to click copy that image, come back over to my Google Doc, right click again and paste. And that's going to bring my Bitmoji over to my document. Okay. And you can do this in Google Slides. You could bring it pretty much into anything where you're able to copy and paste an image. Okay. And I do have the option to slide my corners here to make the size bigger or smaller as I move forward. Okay. Now you are noticing that my Bitmoji is dressed a little different than I did on my side. That's because I used a different login. But when you use the same email address as you did on your mobile device, the same Bitmoji will appear on this side. I just had those password issues, which is why I used a different one. But you should see the same one there. Okay. So that's pretty much using the Bitmoji app. And again, I can bring this into Google Slides or anything else where I'm able to copy and paste. Okay. We did include some directions in the presentation for you to be able to both download the app as well as the Bitmoji. And there's a nice video there that shows you the clicks as you walk through the process. So we're going to pause for a few moments and try to answer a couple of questions. Of course, there will be more questions than we're able to answer right off. So we're going to try to answer as many of those as we can before we move on to some other things that you can do with your Bitmoji. I see a great question about what happens when you update your password. If you update your password will not if you use your PGCPS account, it will not automatically update on your tablet or your mobile device. So you're going to use the same password to log into the Bitmoji app if you need to again. But usually once you're logged in, you don't have to worry about logging in a second time unless you're at a different device or you've completely cleared out your browser or your history. But know that whatever it remains on your tablet or your mobile device is what it will remain on your computer when you sign in. To access the Bitmoji in a Google slide, I clicked up here to the right, this little Bitmoji icon, and then I just chose the one I wanted and then copied and pasted it into my Google Doc. Another question, can I transfer my personal email created emoji over to your work? Yes, when you log into the Bitmoji extension, just log in with your whichever email address has the Bitmoji that you want to use. Can you change the Bitmoji's language? Yes, you just come up to the search bar. I'm going to try to dig into my Spanish, for example, just the first idea that comes into my head. Please don't judge me, but notice as I type in Spanish, it will appear. It will give me less options, but I can use whatever I see there. Okay. So now we're going to move forward to showing you how to do some more advanced things with your Bitmoji. Again, you'll have an option to, we'll give you personal directions. You probably do not see the apps on the top of your screen. If you're not using Google Chrome, you won't see them. So make sure, one, you're in Google Chrome. Thank you for the compliment on the Spanish. One, make sure you're in Google Chrome. Two, make sure that you've installed the extension. And again, we'll provide those directions for you, again, so that you have some time to work later on your on creating your Bitmoji. So I am going to stop sharing and pass this over to my colleague, Megan, who is going to show you a couple of new things to do.
Great, thank you, Chris. I'm going to just go ahead and share my screen here. And at the beginning, Monica showed us a lot of great opportunities for inspiration, so we could see ways that we can bring Bitmojis into our classroom. And then Chris just walked us nicely through creating our actual Bitmoji, as well as using the extension or installing the extension so we can begin using that Bitmoji in other places. So now I'm going to take you on a tour of how to actually create a scene with your Bitmoji. I'm going to walk through a lot of the steps, and then you'll actually have some time on the other side of my demonstration to dig in and create your own or continue working on your Bitmoji. So it may be easier for some of us if you just watch this part, knowing that you will have some time to play in just a few minutes. So we know that most of our Bitmoji scenes are created in Google Slides. And with that, there are a few skills that we will take a look at today that will help us as we work through Google Slides. Also know that when you return to the remote teaching site, you will have access to this presentation. And along with the links to the resources that Monica and Chris have shared, this slide, each of these blue underlined texts are short little tutorials on how to do these different skills. So we'll start by looking at how to find our images, and then how to adjust those images so they work well in our scene. And then finally, we'll take a look at how we can do even more with those images to link them to other resources, such as Monica showed you with the I Have a Dream speech. And then finally, we'll talk about the two different ways you might share or use the scenes that you created with your Bitmoji. So to get started, I need a blank Google slide. I could go back to Drive, but an easy way to get a Google slide is to just open a new tab and type slides.new. And that will open a blank Google slide. Since I am signed in with my PGCPS account, which I can tell up here in the top right corner, this will save to my PGCPS Google Drive account if I ever want to go back and edit or share or do anything else to this from this point forward. So I'm going to close this themes tab. I don't need that right now. And I'm actually going to go ahead and just delete everything off of the slide. So I start with a nice blank slide. I will say before we begin, there are a lot of different ways to do things in Google Slides. If you have a different way that you're doing it, please continue to do that. I can only have time to show you 1 or 2 ways to do something, but do whichever way works best for you. So thinking to our themes, the first thing we need is a background. So I'm going to come up here to Insert, Image, and search the web. This will open a little panel on the right side of my screen where I can search. There are 2 key terms that I like to use when I search for backgrounds, and I'm just going to jump back here so you can see them. I either like to search for wall and floor or empty room background. So I'm going to type empty room background and hit enter. And you'll see that I get exactly that, a lot of empty rooms. So I'm going to scroll through and find one that I like. And for the sake of today, I'm going to go ahead and actually use the same one that we had in some of our opening slides. And I'll just drag that over from the right to my slide. You can see it kind of plops right in here. I noticed 2 things. I noticed, one, that it doesn't fill up the space. So I'm going to start with that. And I'm just going to go ahead and move this up to the top right corner. And I'm going to use these blue handles to resize it and stretch it over to fill up the whole slide. So I'm just going to take this one and drag it over to the right, and then drag it down so it fills up my whole theme. Now, one other quick thing I noticed about this is I'm not feeling the tree today. I don't want the tree included in this particular background. So with any image that we bring into our slide, we can crop it to remove pieces that we don't want. There are 2 ways to start cropping. The first is to single click on your picture. And then up here on our editing toolbar, we have our crop icon. I could simply click on there and you'll see that I have these black lines around. Another way to turn on cropping, which I think is a little bit easier, is to just double click your picture, 1, 2, and now I have those same black lines. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually just going to drag the black bar to remove that tree. Click enter. Now I can stretch it out. I have an even empty room. All right, so now we have kind of a blank canvas where we can start filling it up with some items for our space. So one thing I want to put in my space is a chair. So I can search for chair. And I see some chairs, but I notice that, let's say this chair, for example, if I liked this one, I could bring it over, but it has this background to it. Oh, it's kind of an ugly chair anyway, but it has this background. I don't really want a chair with a background. So what we need to make sure that we do is, instead of searching for just chair, we're also going to add the word transparent and hit enter. And now the chairs that I get have a little bit less background to them. There will be some, but not all. So here I have this big pink chair. It looks nice and cozy. So I'm going to drag that over and put that in my room. Now, this chair happens to be a little big for my room. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe shrink it, make it a little bit lower, but then make it nice and cozy and wide so it fits. And then just kind of put it where it thinks it might look good in my space. Okay, so we're going to add just a few more elements to our room doing that same process. Search for something using the word, whatever we're searching for, plus transparent. So let's look for a bookcase. Okay, so you can see here there are some bookcases that already have items on them, and there are some that are empty. I could bring in a little bit of both. I could bring in this bookshelf. Notice since I chose transparent, I don't have that kind of white square behind it, which can make it look really funny. Or I could just bring in an empty shelf, and maybe I'll bring that shelf in over here. Okay, so you can see I can bring in either one. I'm also going to bring in, let's say we'll just move this off to the side a little bit. I'll bring in a whiteboard. So I'm just going to search for a whiteboard. We see that in a lot of our scenes so that we can write on them. So let's say I happen to like this one. And again, you see that black space back there. That's showing me that it's transparent. So when I bring it over, it doesn't have that background. So now I'm going to drag it, and we'll say that I stick this on my wall. But I notice that my chair is stuck behind the whiteboard, which brings me to my next set of skills. So far, we've resized to make things proportional. We have cropped to take out the things that we don't want shown. Now we're going to change the order or the layering of our objects. So I'm actually going to click on the chair, and I'm going to right click. And one of the options here, and if you're on a Mac, you can right click with 2 fingers. Same goes for a Chromebook. And from order, I'm going to say bring to front. Now you'll see that my chair is once again in the front, and my whiteboard looks like it's stuck behind on the wall. So we're going to add maybe 2 more items today. We're going to keep it pretty simple. I'm going to add a rug. So I'm going to come up here and search for rug. And we have to be mindful when we're working with things like rugs for perspective reasons. So for example, if I found this, let's say I liked this gray rug, if I bring it over, even though it's transparent, it might look a little funny. Well, it looks a little funny in my room, partly because it goes opposite way of the grain of the wood, but also it doesn't quite fit. So we want to make sure we get one that looks like it's laying flat. So here is a nice blue one. I'm going to just drag this blue one over and move it flat to my floor. Now I'm going to do 2 things here. One, I noticed that this rug has a lot of extra white space or clear space, which really isn't a big deal until we want to start selecting other objects to move them around. So I'm going to double click again, and I'm going to crop out all of that extra space. Just hit enter. Great. And now I'm going to bring that chair back to the front using order and bring it to the front. Okay. So just to move along quickly here, I'm going to bring in my Bitmoji, and then we're going to bring in some objects that we can link to our link on our slide. So remember to bring our Bitmoji into our scene. We'll use the extension. So Chris has already showed us how to install it. I've already installed and signed in. So I'm going to click on mine. And I see a lot of different ones here that I've used. So I want to look like I'm sitting in the chair. I have a few options for that. One that I like to use is pose, because we can get a lot of different positions, and typically pose won't have words on, except for these end ones where it has like whatever phrase we type in will show up there. So I could try one of these if I wanted to. If I wanted to look like I was really relaxing, I could go ahead and just drag that Bitmoji on and kind of really look like I was sitting back in the chair. But I want to look more like I'm sitting, and a little bit more appropriate. So I could search for sit. There we go, I see sit. So that last time I dragged my Bitmoji to the screen. For some of us, maybe the dexterity that isn't work. So we can also right click, copy image, and then I can come over to my scene, right click again, or come up to edit, either way, and choose paste, however you like to paste. Now I can come over to my chair. Well, we have a problem. I'm facing the wrong way in the chair. So now we have to make another change to our object. To do that, we're going to right click on the Bitmoji. And last time we looked at order. This time we're going to take a look at rotate. And I'm going to rotate by flipping horizontally. See, it just faced me the other direction. And I can just kind of scooch it over, put it in what looks like the right spot for the seat. Now we're good to go. Okay, just as an aside, I prefer right-clicking on a lot of things because then I don't have to remember what menu item to go through. I just right-click and look through the list, but you can do it however you like. All right, so here we go. We have some of the objects in our room. We're going to add 2 more things here. I want to highlight our book of the week. So I know that this is, let's say, a primary classroom. So we like to read stories from Storyline Online. Whoops, we go. And one of our favorites in our house is Arnie the Donut. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the story for Arnie the Donut. And the first thing I want to do is get a picture of the book. So I'm going to just do buy this book because I know it takes me right to a place where I can get a screenshot. But you could also go and just Google a picture of it. But here we are. We have found a picture easily. So I'm just going to right click and copy the image. Now I'm going to come back to the tab that has my presentations. Now I've got a few tabs open. I'm okay with that. And I'm going to paste. Now that's quite the big book. So we're going back to those same basic skills of resizing. And I'm going to make it look like I just have it kind of sitting on the whiteboard, right? Well, I'll move it over here, put it on our shelf. And now I want to link to the book. So when the students click on the picture of Arnie, it takes them right to the story. So I'm going to go close my Barnes & Noble tab. And I'm going to go back to Storyline Online. And I see that it has copy link up here, which if I went right to YouTube, it would take me to the same place. So you can see here, it's just the YouTube link to the story. Okay, so I'm going to come back to my presentation now that I have the link copied. And I'm going to click on the book. And again, however you like to insert links to objects, I can use the link icon on the toolbar. I can use insert on the menu and choose link, or of course we could right click. Since I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and choose link, and then I'm going to paste that YouTube link, click apply, and now you can see that picture of the book links to here. But a key thing, until my students get used to learning how to click around to explore things, they may not know this. So I want to alert them in some way. And there's kind of two ways I could do that. Since I have a whiteboard, I could come up and use my text box, draw a text box, and I could say, click the books to hear them read aloud, or something like that. Right? Good grief. We'll pretend I can type today. Okay, and then I like to come up and change my font so it looks a little bit more like handwriting. Maybe even change the color since there's a red marker down there, and make it a little bit bigger, kind of make it fun, right? So one thing I could do, if I've created a scene where it makes sense to write on something, I can do that. If I didn't create a scene with a whiteboard, instead, I could give myself a speech bubble. So I'm going to go to Shape, Call Out, Speech Bubble, and I'm just going to go ahead and draw that speech bubble and make it look like it's coming from me. Now I'm going to go ahead and just paste in that same sentence. And again, sometimes I like to change the font just so it looks a little bit less regular, so it looks more like I'm talking. Okay, and I can give this a background so that it stands out a little bit more, however you want to do it. All right, so with just a few basic skills, we've inserted objects, we've used resizing to make them proportional, we've cropped them to get rid of stuff we don't want, we've used rotating to make a space the right direction, and we've used ordering to put objects in front of the other one or on top of to create that actual look of depth and order to our picture. So our last piece is to get this to our students. So how do we do that? If I want my students to be able to actually click on Arnie and hear the book, then I need to use something called publishing. Chances are I would put this in the classroom so they can access it in Google Classroom. But to give them the proper link, I'm going to File, and I'm going to come all the way down to Publish to the Web. Click Publish, click OK. And then I have this really long link. And I'm going to copy this. This is the link that if I were in Classroom, I would post in Classroom, but just so you can see what it looks like. Students see a slide that looks like this. And then when they hover over the book, you can see it goes from a regular cursor to a pointy finger, so they could click and actually watch. Now, if I were, instead of creating a scene like this, Monica mentioned earlier that you can create classroom banners or tops of form headers. If you were doing that, you wouldn't publish. Instead, we would go to File, Download, and I could choose JPEG or PNG. I'll choose JPEG. It'll save to my downloads area. Then I can come into my Google Classroom and use Upload Photo to bring that background in. And then I can just sort of drag this so it fits the whole frame. And two things that are important about bringing it in the classroom. One, you'll notice that the banner is sized differently than a regular scene. And the second is that when I bring it in, it's not going to be as bright as it was before. It gets this little gray over it. And that's an accessibility feature to make sure that the text on top is readable. So there's nothing we can do about that, but we're grateful that Google has done that overlay for us to make it easier for people to read. So those are our two ways that we would share with each other, either by publishing or by downloading and putting our Bitmoji theme somewhere else. So I took kind of the long route to get you there today. Sorry about that. But I do want to share with you some resources that you have so you can explore for the next couple minutes. So one of my colleagues will post the link to this in chat, but you'll have a chance to either continue working on your Bitmoji, and there's a silent video. If you just want to practice using the extension and pasting it in a slide presentation, we have one here for you, and you could simply click on any of these three posters to practice. So this will take you to an empty presentation or a presentation you can practice with. This classroom banner poster, if you click, will take you to those templates that Monica shared earlier. You can click Use Template, and it will bring you to something like this, where you can simply pick an empty room and then come down to any of this furniture, just copy what you like, paste it into the blank room that you pick, and start building. So you don't have to go searching. We've given you a bunch of accessories to get started with. And if you don't want to create a classroom banner, if you'd like to practice making a scene, sorry about that, you can click on Create a Scene. And then on this one, click Use Template and do basically the same thing. You'll have a series of empty rooms along with a series of furniture that you can copy and paste to practice creating your own room. If you say, Megan, I'm not ready for all that, that's totally fine. I'm going to sit here and hang out for a couple minutes and monitor chat while some of you go off and play, and others just choose to stay here and add questions into chat. And then we'll come back together in a couple minutes and close out the session together. So again, Michelle has very nicely put our link in chat. Once you click it, choose if you're going to keep working on your phone, just go for it, or click one of the three posters to start practicing with your Bitmoji. So I see, is there a way to control the theme of Google Classroom and uploading the banner? No. I think it just does what it does. How to crop again? Sure. All right, so I'm going to just come back here. And this bookshelf, I kind of slid the bookshelf off because it was too big. But I'm going to go ahead and actually just reset it. Oops. Oh, my goodness. Okay. So this bookshelf, let's say this bookshelf, I only wanted one row of books. I can simply, to crop anything, I can double click. And whenever I get on these black lines and I drag those, that lets me hide what I don't want to see anymore. So I'm going to drag this top row of books down and end up with essential. Whoops, I must have grabbed the blue. Let's grab the black line. There we go. And now we have just one row of books. Okay, great. And if any of the other T3 folks, if there are some questions on here that you think would be good that I've missed that you'd like me to address for our audience, please feel free to just unmute and call out what you'd like me to take care of. Okay, so when saving an image for a banner, yes, it does only the one slide. So if you have multiple classrooms or you wanted to have different banners throughout the year for your classroom, you could have one presentation and have different banners and then just come in each time you want a new one. and File, Download JPEG, and it'll download just that just that particular slide that you're on. Absolutely. So we were not doing anything with movement or animations in this particular session today. Today we're just very standard still Bitmoji. So Erica says, is there a way to start with a completely blank slide so we don't have the add text prompt on there? You can't necessarily start with one, but as you do, what you can do, you can either do what I did, which was just highlight and delete all of those, all that text, or you can come up to layout and choose blank. Either way, you're still gonna have to do something. Can you create a scene and still use it for a banner? They're not sized the same. You can see my classroom is nice and tall. And if I just, for the sake of numbers here, the height of that is, well, this is going to be 10 by 5, roughly. And my banners for my classroom, sorry, I have so many tabs open here, are, if I come back here, page setup. These are going to be 16 by 4. So they're a little bit longer, a little bit more narrow. If you use the same size, stuff will be cropped and you can't really control that. The link for the banners, again, if you go to the link that Michelle has put in Classroom and click on I have lost our presentation for today. Here we go. If you click on the third poster, create a classroom banner, you'll be able to get to the template for that. Okay. All right, so I know, give us about another moment to keep building, and I'm going to just talk through the last few pieces. Just scrolling through chat over here to see if there's anything. So I see, I don't know if this is before or after I said this. So when you create a scene and you publish it, yes. So publishing, whenever you're in Google Slides, is File, and then Publish to the web. And then you'll just kind of click the Publish button and click OK. And the link that's here is what's used. And the advantage of publishing versus sharing is that when you publish, people will only see your slide. They won't see any of the editing tools. If I share, even as view only, they'll still see all the editing tools. And so that's why we like to do that. As I mentioned that reminds me though, if I was if I had a co-teacher, I would absolutely share my scene with her, and she could add her Bitmojis in too, because slides are collaborative and we could totally move forward with all those different things. Okay. So if we publish a scene and share it with students, but may need to edit later, do we go back and edit the published link? No, they just refresh and they have the updated version. You don't need to reshare, republish, do anything. So Charlene, I'm not sure what link you're trying to get the link for, but I can clarify that in just a moment. And I'm just going to take us through the last few pieces here. We do have some resources for you, and these are all linked on one of our other documents here, but just to highlight what we have. This is just another example of a scene where different resources are linked to different items. But I'm going to actually just draw your attention to the one in the bottom right corner over here, which is our support document. And that brings us right here. On this, which is available on our remote teaching site as well. This is one of the main resources that we have there. The inspiration area will take you back through a lot of what Monica talked about. Getting started with Bitmojis, we have the link to the App Store. We also have the link to the extension, as well as the videos, as well as a video that walks you through both of those. We have the classroom banner template, that's the blank rooms that we looked at earlier, along with the same thing for classroom scenes. And then we have a little video on how to upload a classroom banner. And this starter kit is just a bunch of resources. And this starter kit came from this Facebook group. It's called Bitmoji Craze I'm just going to highlight it down here so you can see where it is. Bitmoji Craze for Educators. If you're on Facebook and you don't mind mixing personal with business, there is an amazing Facebook group of educators all around the country who are just sharing all of the awesome themes and headers and everything that they're doing with Bitmojis. And the best part is that so many of them are willing to just give it to you for you can make your own copy and make your modifications to match what you need. So you don't ever have to start from scratch. If you do nothing else, join the Facebook group, get inspired, borrow, modify, use, and just completely enjoy it. And then this other piece here, this Bitmoji How-To Master List, is another amazing resource that we snagged from the Facebook group that walks through a lot of the same things that we did today, plus so much more. And then we are so proud that so many of you joined us today and probably have gotten started either with your Bitmoji or with creating a scene or a header that we want to see what you've done. So we have a little show off your work link here. And if you made something while you were with us today, we would love for you to show it off. We want to honor the hard work that you've done, even just in a little bit today. So please feel free to drop it in there. So again, this is on our remote teaching toolkit site, but I'll also, I see we've already had a lot of that information dropped in for us over there. And then just a few more housekeeping slides. Thank you so much for joining us. We know this is one of your last or maybe your very last session for this school year. So thank you so much. Please do make sure that you go to the remote teaching site to, one, fill out the attendance form for today. You should do that for every session you participate in. And then please take the end of the year survey. You only need to do this once, but it really gives us a look at how you took advantage of all of the training that we offered during this entire distance learning experience, what we offered, if you used it, and how we can better support you moving forward through the summer and for next year. So here is the section number for today, 2820830. And then speaking of summer, if you aren't busy on Wednesdays in July, on July 8th, 15th, and 22nd, we will be offering some webinars on a variety of topics. So we encourage you after June 24th to check our regular T3 website so that you can see what we're offering and join us for one or more of our sessions this summer. So I'm going to go ahead and jump back just to bring up that section number. But again, thank you all so much for joining us. Please know that this presentation, as well as a recording, will be posted. This presentation is already there. The documents that we looked at and some other resources are already posted on the remote teaching site on the session resources page for Powering Down, or just go right to Bitmojis, and you can access all of that. So thank you all so much.
T3, you rock. Thank you so much. I had to unmute myself to say that.
Thank you.
You just make me smile every time I attend your PDs. They just make my day.
Oh, thank you so much. We all appreciate that.
You guys are amazing. Everyone, I attended